that we're going to have a lot of interesting information today. First part, I will let Marina speak to us. She will explain to us the process of buying a property in Italy and all the roles that are going to be involved in a transaction, all the steps from beginning to end, all the little surprises that we might encounter and how to solve them. And she will give us an overview of what to expect. So I'm just going to let you take over and do your magic.
Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Marina Rozenberg. I am international realty property advisor. So I'm CPS, maybe like you. So yeah. I work with in Italy. So I give some advice for you. For buyer process. Us meeting will be long, so we have 1 hour in English, and I will explain you the buyer process base. And after, we have another part of our meeting dedicated for buyer process in USA. So after the first hour, we will have the time for some questions. So anybody can write me in Facebook, or you can write if you are in Zoom now. So I would like to begin our presentation with buyer process. And we will begin, oh la la, it is not buyer process. So.
Oh, perfect.
Exactly.
So now you can tell us, well, the base thing is, can the foreigners buy real estate in Italy? That's yes. The very good starting point.
Yes, it's very important question, because in any places you cannot buy the property. So Italy is a great place and great country. There are no restrictions for foreign ownership or real estate. But any money remitted from outside Italy for purchasing property should be officially documented to ensure that the proceeds of real resale can be repatriated. So for buy the property, if you're American, you need just the tax code, codice fiscale, and bank account in Italy. So I would like to remember you that in Italy it's a civil law. Civil law means that all law is right law. It's a little bit different. It's not like in America. So for understand the process, for understand the rules, we must understand the roles.
I think that's a great idea. So what are the parties involved in a transaction?
So today I will explain you the role in the transaction when you need to take the mortgage. Because when you take the mortgage, some thing is a little bit different. So our first role, it's a real estate agent or broker, because in Italy it's the same person. So a brokerage agent it will be. So we have not divided from broker or agent. It's same players. The second one, so it's very important, we will see with all characteristics, it's a notary. And after notary could be imported quantity surveyor, architector, or geometra. It is not mandatory, but can be very helpful. One more could be helpful, but it's not a mandatory, it's attorney. So, and sometimes we have another players like translators, business consultant, or a accountant. So, do you have any questions, or can I go?
Well, you can proceed. I know that it will be interesting to hear about the notary, because that's a role that is completely different from here. Our notary, it has the same role and the same function that is going to have over there in Italy. So that would be very interesting.
Yes, I think we will talk about notary in the next question. But first, I would like to present you who are in Italy real estate agent or real estate broker. Because we have some difference from American brokers. So the first that I told you, that's a civil law. So we have the Article 2 Civil Code that a real estate agent must make certain disclosure to the parties if the agent knows or becomes aware of matters with impact of property transactions. So it's very important that agent must inform you for all disclosures that he can know. So the real estate agent have a duty of care. It's a special duty of care. It's a little bit different. Whilst the real estate agent is not required to undertake any technical or legal investigation concerning the property which might have impact on the transactions, legal due diligence, the agent is nevertheless charged with duties to disclosure information according to the principles of normal professional diligence and duty of care. It means that a real estate agent or real estate broker is not technical, is not as technical, so cannot give you very technical information because the duty of care is differently for a real estate agent. So you need to have a good team to understand if you can to proceed for buy the property. So it's very important to understand what kind of responsibility you can to expect from this type of players. So the agent is therefore required to give information or any known circumstances or issues that should have been known under those principles, to provide incorrect or non-verifiable information to an interested party is unacceptable according to the law. So real estate broker must give you true information. This is the principle of law on all real estate transactions in Italy. Important to understand that a real estate agent is have the cover by insurance and can fix for some errors with this kind of insurance. So do you have any questions for me?
This is actually very important because the disclosure, and we do have a similar thing where the seller is supposed to disclose any known defect that can affect the value of the property, and the agent as well follow the code of ethics, is supposed to disclose. So it's very interesting to hear that in Italy you have to, it gives a peace of mind because the transparency is the main thing. Everyone needs to know what's going on. So
yes, but sometimes, unfortunately, in some case, when you take the contract for the for sale,
mm-hmm.
you cannot have all information. So why it's important to choose real estate agents with the license? Because in Italy we have many moonlighting roles. I'm sure. Is it right? Moonlight. So
you can say that. It's an interesting choice of word, but yes, I know what you mean.
So it can be maybe some architects, some geometers, some lawyer, or some accounting, or many other types of players who wanted to do this work but without license.
Yes.
So the law gives you the cover for responsibility of the duty of the care to a real estate agent or broker, and covered by insurance. So why it's very important to work with real estate with license.
Yes, you have to make sure that it's a professional.
Exactly. So because some scare, some law, I know that Italy is very particulated places and all things that's pasta, pizza, and nobody else, but I think it could be very interesting to begin to understand what role and what rule we can
Yes,
we must do.
absolutely.
So the next one, it's a notary. So it's very notary place is integral part of transaction process. So we cannot do the transactions without notary. Notary is a very different role on the transaction in Italy because it's a highly training and licensed legal professional, usually an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And the appointed public official. So it's very different and have a lot of responsibility. I write some points for the responsibility which can be useful for in real estate, but in some case we have a lot of another kind of responsibility. So the notary draws up contract between buyer and seller, conducts the title search, discovers property liens, ensures taxes are paid, handles transaction settlement procedures, disburses transactions money, registers property titles, maintains title records, assists the formation and registration of companies. In some cases, hold funds in escrow. Escrow will be topic for understand a little bit deeper. So, notary is responsible in the case of errors. So it's very good because when you when you consult with notary, you must know that it's very responsibility role. So, in even of the notary's failure to check the possible existence or the terminal registration or transcription in the resulting proven existence or damage to purchase, a claim for compensation may be made to the notary. If instead there is a mere material error in the drawing up of the deed, in the indicated of the data, identification to the part and the property, it may be advisable to require the notary to correct the erroneous data. So also notary have the insurance. So we have the second role with insurance and with strong law protection. Do you want to know something else, some curiosity?
The notary basically is taking over the whole transaction and checks all the steps and verify that everything has been done following the rules and the laws. So he's a fundamental part in the transaction.
Yes, exactly.
Correct.
Yes, and after I will give you some advice for all procedure. So for easy procedure for buyer, but now we must to understand all the rules and all procedures. After these topics, I will give some questions. So notary fee depend of range of price and size of type of transaction. Today we now give any numbers because it's very different numbers. It's depend how is involved notary in the transaction. Attorney.
And just on a little note, I saw that we have a couple of questions, but I just want to make sure that, you know, some of the questions that I've seen, we're probably going to answer already throughout the presentation. But if we don't, we'll make sure to get back to them as soon as you are done with the presentation.
Yes, of course.
Hold on tight.
Exactly. Hold on. So, attorney. Attorney is not mandatory. Attorney is not mandatory, but sometimes can be necessary for understanding and establishing the rules for disclosures and contingency clauses. I explain this path. When you have the real estate transactions, easy real estate transactions, no need the attorney. So if you have the real estate advisor who you trust, and you have notary advisor with trust, you no need attorney. Attorney you can use when you want to do something more complicated. But I think when you buy in Italy and you are overseas buyer, you will buy something very easy. So attorney need when, for example, we have some donation, or maybe some l'associazione, heritage.
It's like an estate, or yes, or inheritance. Like if the situation involves a little bit more structure, financing issues, or some of those, you know, maybe a private estate, that's when probably the attorney is a good
Yes.
referring point.
Yes, sometimes when it's a big and complicated transaction, attorney you need for understand and establish contingency, and understand sometimes disclosure. But the responsibility of attorney is different. So attorney is a cover insurance just for another kind of consultation. So it's a borderline. So you need sometimes, but it's not mandatory, it's not necessary. So but if you have a good attorney, you can ask to help conduct preliminary title search and discover property lanes, and draw up one preliminary contract or offer purchase between buyer and seller. But if you have good notary and you have your trust real estate advisor, you no need the attorney, so you can save the money. Because
okay. And on a quick note, yes, trust as well. I saw that somebody was asking about trust. When trust or estates or inheritances and all those situations, probably you will want to ask an attorney, just because it's something even beyond the real estate. It's you know, if family trust is involved,
of course,
that's one of the situation where the attorney is probably going to be involved.
Probably, but important to understand, if you have the notary international, so speak another language and have a specialization with global operation, I think you can to save the money with attorney. It's important to understand if the trust in Italy or trust in another part of the world. So
Yes.
understand what kind of law you need to use for some operation. So I think it's very particulated operation, and yes. We now to need more details for giving you
exactly
some good advice.
Perfect.
One more, quantity survivor, architect, or geometry. It's not mandatory, but it's very, very, very helpful. Why? Usually in Italy, when you buy the property, a lot of overseas buyers buy something from second hand. I'm not sure, second hand. So it's a first home buyer, but it's not new home. It's not from new construction.
Okay.
So what
it's already is a resale. It's not new construction, but is a resale.
Exactly. So in
resale, yeah.
Resale. So resale, exactly. Yeah. Because Italy is famous that you can buy beautiful dwelling, beautiful history dwelling. So you can understand that it's not something new. And when you want to give all situation under control, my advice, you must to engage in your team good quantity surveyor, architect, or geometer, because he can help you to do the home inspection. In Italy, the home inspection is not mandatory. So when you buy for with cash, so also when you buy with mortgage, if you want to know to be sure the quality of property or some issues, it's very important to have the
inspection.
somebody who can help you. So you can ask the preliminary home inspection if you want to have full knowledge of the condition of the property. I think it's could be very good advice if you want to be sure that you buy very good things and you know what kind of cost you need for another operation. Or you want to remodel or upgrade the property, and you need to understand the cost and the options. In this mode, this role is cover very important oddio. I'm not remembering in English, but I remember in Italian. It's a cover.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Copra I responsabilità e ruoli. The core responsibility and the roles. Yes.
Yes, because when you, especially as you were saying before, having a lot of older constructions and older properties in Italy, it's very important for the buyer to have the peace of mind that, you know, he's not getting himself into something that could be maybe too difficult for him to upgrade or remodel. So you want to make sure that you know the condition of the house prior to, you know, going into the transaction.
Exactly. In some case, quantity surveyor or architect or geometer can help you with discovering the documents for the house, for example, from cadastral or for the lines. So it's a very flexible role, and in some cases it's not very expensive. The fees is a range price dependent of the type of consulting service. So I think in the more cases it's too important to have this kind of advisors that the lawyer or attorney.
Yeah, absolutely. The more you know it about the property, the less surprise you're gonna have down the road.
Exactly. So you can have you can save more money with this part.
Mm-hmm. Which is always good. Good advice.
Do you have any questions?
Well, I think that you explained very, very well the different roles. And I see from the next slide that we are getting into the real core of the transaction and all the nice aspects that you definitely need to be very aware of and treat with the right attention. So I'll let you explain, because I know that it's something that it's very, very important.
Okay, thank you very much, Anna Maria. So the first step when you see the property, when you understand that you are in love in property, you must do the formal offer of purchase proposal. We must understand that the first step is very important, because the property have some particulated attention. The first, the proposed for the law can become the preliminary contract. Also, you don't want. So why you must to be very, very with big attention, very careful. Exactly what do you sign, because we have no same process like in America. So the first, you must do the down payment. Down payment, usually it's about 10% of the price offered, held by real estate agent or by owner. So this is the first step that you must understand, that the down payment, we have not escrow account, but you can ask your attorney or you can ask your notary with another fee to take in escrow your down payment if you want to left the money for real estate agent or owner. So, non-interest bearing deposit in the form of non-transferable check made out to the seller. The check is returned if the seller does not accept the proposal. This is a normal step in Italy, but sometimes we can change this step if you want to buy from outside of Italy. So we can to find another solution, more productive and more protetto.
Yeah, where the buyer is more protected.
More protected, exactly. So it's the first that you must know that in offer you must to left down payment. The second, acceptance of proposal. When the buyer learns of the seller's acceptance, that amount will become on confirmatory down payment. So important this pass, because in this pass the contract will be binding for both. So the contract accepted by the seller become binding for both. Normally, after entering a contract, a notary withdraw the right to free oneself from the contract by means of a statement communicated to the other party is not allowed. It means that when you firm your proposed and the proposed was accepted, you cannot withdraw without good motivation, without special motivation. Now I explain another path in the proposed, but it's very important to understand, because sometimes when you read in English the steps for the buyers in Italy, in English, you can find that when you are firm the proposed, second pass, that preliminary contract, is more important. I don't agree, because the first step is formal offer of purchase can become the preliminary contract. That's why you must to pay very big attention in all steps in this pass. So the defaults, sometimes somebody can default. So if the party that gave the down payment default, the other party may withdraw from the contract, keeping the down payment. If instead the party that received the down payment default, the other party may withdraw for the contract and demand double the down payment. It means if you want to withdraw without good reason, without reason that you must to write in the contract, you lose your money. You must to pay for the fee of the agency. So why it's very important to understand all pass.
Yeah, it's very clear. That's why you are highlighting the fact that the initial part is very important, because you are risking of losing the money, and obviously in a house purchase it could be a lot of money. So it's very important to make sure that you are working with professionals, that they know the different steps and the different process and steps that you need to have clear, so that you can proceed without any surprise and any loss.
So it must be little surprise, no big surprise.
It must be
very joint surprise, and not angry. So now I will the right to withdraw. So the right to withdraw may also be established by an agreement between the parties. So it could be conventional rejection or suspension clause. I would like to explain this a little better. So sometimes when you the film the proposal, and some documents could be now ready for the for this for sale home. For example, you can buy the house where plans of cadastral a little bit different. In many cases, in Italy, it's a normally. So we can have two type of problems. It could be something very easy to resolve, or something very complicated. You never know what kind of problem you can find on the your way for buy the house. So you can use the suspension clause where you can indicate that all documents will be fixed or will be good for last step for the for deed. And ask the warranty from the seller that can take the responsibility for fix this problem. So why you can the withdraw if something go in another way. It's very important to include this piece in the contract.
So just to be clear, so if you ahead of time at the beginning of the transaction, if you include these clauses into the contract itself, at least the buyer has some kind of insurance that is not going to lose the money if the other party doesn't provide or fix whatever he's supposed to provide, right?
Yes.
In a certain amount of time. Perfect.
Yes, exactly. So it's a little advice, but very important, because another steps will be building sopra.
It's step by step. You will have to build
step,
all
yes,
the
but
different.
it's the first steps. First step is too important.
The foundation is always the main thing.
Exactly, it's a
foundation.
Yes. With the Anna Maria, I improve my English, so step by step, my English will be better. The next do will be better. The offer of purchase can become the preliminary contract. When you now need to wait for mortgage, or you have no contingents and you have all documents disclosure, you can choose to proceed with formal offer purchase and without preliminary contract. But you must be sure that all document is good, and you could be safe if you include conventional rejection or suspension clause. But it must be very good described what you want to do. The rules, it's very important in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. It's better safe than sorry, they say over here. It's better to add something and make things clear from the beginning rather than incur into issues later on.
Because in this step, if you don't understand something, or you have another question, you can lose your money.
Yeah.
That's why you must understand.
Yeah. And that's why you need a good professional to walk you through.
Exactly. So if you have no question, I go in the second.
Yeah, sure. You can proceed to the next slide.
So preliminary agreement of the sale. We told that it's not mandatory, so it's your choice if you want to do this kind of contract. Usually we have a further down payment to 25-30% of the price. Usually preliminary agreement of sale in Italy used when you must to take the mortgage. Or for example, you need the house, but you can pay after 6-8 months. So when you have the dates, very long dates, it can be
Far apart from each other, yeah.
Exactly, but usually the overseas buyer have the cash and no need to take the mortgage and no need to wait a lot of time. So it's very good for waiting for mortgage or another kind of contingents that I don't know here. In the preliminary contract, we can, if you have some pending practice for disclosure or contingents, you can define all procedures in preliminary contract. That's why you can use if you say if you have some questions. You must decide, and you must decide in the first step in the proposal the date for notarial deed. But I think it's like in America, you must know the date when you want to go to buy the property. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to define, there is a closing date that we have to indicate on the contract.
So, and the date which the part intends to stipulate the notarial deed indicated if the possible who the notary public will be in the term of the delivery of property. So it's some another details that you can use for preliminary agreement if you have not. The registering. So when you do the preliminary contract or the purchase proposal, the registration is done at revenue office and may be done by anyone within 20 days from the notification of the seller's acceptance or the proposer for the purchase proposal, and within 20 days for the stipulation for preliminary. So you must pay a little bit money, but it's no, you can use this money in a final step, but today we don't explain all taxations. So it's anticipation of taxation for your deed. If you have any question for me?
No, this one was clear, and as you said, it's, you know, the important thing is always to know all the different steps.
Okay, so the finish. Da 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 da.
Celebration.
Okay, walking on the dead. Finally, we can buy the property in Italy. Okay, so now we have the final steps. That's why I to explain to you all the roles on the
during the transaction.
Exactly, on the transaction. So the notary, the full check. The notary's job is to check the full ownership of the property, that has no encumbrance, and to verify the identity of the owners and property to be purchased. So the final step is always notary, because notary oversaw a different player. After I give you some advice for save a little bit money. The deed is done by the notary, the transfer of ownership contract and the part of condominium in common. So when we go to the deed, we give the money, we firm our contract, and we have the keys. The formalities.
That's the nice part.
Yeah. The notary handles the formalities after the deed, such as registration for payment taxes and the transcriptions to make the deed possible to the third part. All transactions you can to consult in the public registration. So the notary, when do the full check, have control that this house is a regularly, that now have some problems or another kind of problems or another kind of pendants in the here.
Yes, is what we say. They have to give a clear title, mean that the rogito, that the title has to be free of any issues or any lien or any problem, so that can be transferred to the new buyer.
Because you control all these issues in the public lists. So,
Yeah.
Escrow, these 3 steps, and we are finished, and we have the keys. I choose to give you some other tips, very helpful if you don't speak Italian. So the first one, the language. So the official property transfer agreement will be in Italian. If a buyer or seller cannot read Italian, they usually engage an interpreter. Other scenarios are possible. All the parts, buyer, seller, and the notary speak the same foreign language. The contracts may be done in that language, but the attachments must be translated from Italian, and the agreement must still be translated into Italian. So the deed will be in Italian. You need to have the attorney, international attorney, because I see that many international attorney write that it's obligatory, it's mandatory to have the international attorney when you buy the property in Italy and you now speak Italian. It's could be save some money. Okay.
Yeah.
The absent purchase and escrow option, I explain you a little bit better. So I have the topics for these 2 cases. If you want, I can to do disclosure of this.
Yes, because I know that, as you said before, the escrow usually is not common in Italy. So,
yeah. So it's like a suite. The first step will be is escrow. The first, the absent purchase. In Italy, you can buy the property if you don't stay in Italy. You must to prepare special power of attorney. You must to go to embassy or consulate in America, or where I don't know where you're from, and prepare this document. So with this document, the person concerned entrust the attorney or agent with the management of part of his affairs. The special power of attorney is valid only up on the conclusion of the specific affair. So you can give the special power of attorney for buy the property. Or if you prefer, you can choose, you can give the special power attorney for engage, for example, a team. If you like some property, you can engage someone for prepare your home inspection and send you home inspection with translate. So in this mode, you understand the reality if you cannot to move from another place, and you can give special power of attorney for negotiation, for the proposal and the preliminary contract, all you need. So really it's very good tips for
yeah, absolutely, because sometimes if you cannot be there, it's very useful to have somebody that can act in your behalf and keep you informed, but at least he has the power of proceeding with the transaction or whatever the next step could be.
So I think that after the situation that we lived with COVID, it's very, very interesting, because in this mode you can non-stop for your shopping. If you wanted to shop the house and you want to really know what kind of problem can have the house, or what you want to do, you must to set the steps, and with special power of attorney, when you choose your advisor, do all you need for safety purchase.
That's a very good tip.
Okay, last one, but not least, escrow option. In Italy, we have after 2070 this option, extra option, is not mandatory, but it's not very useful for Italian sellers and Italian buyers. But in some case, you can use this type of escrow. So, a new law was introduced in 29 August that allowed the buyers to use an escrow account for the purchase of his Italian property. So property buyer can ask his notary to receive the funds for the payment of the purchase price balance to be kept into the notary escrow account before completion of the sale. The notary escrow account is separated to personal account. So in this case, you are very safety, because if notary did the more.
Yeah, is that if he dies?
Your money is safe. It's very important. So the funds are kept into the account until the trascrizione della vendita, the actual registration of the sale. It's like a 30 days, sometimes it's 1 week, 2 weeks, it's depends of time of notary. Once the title registration is done, the buyer is sure the purchase has been complete successfully, and the notary will transfer the fund to the vendor. Important, because notary will incur additional cost to administrate the escrow process. It's like they will charge for this service. And it's very important to know, buyer can expect that seller to be unhappy, very unhappy with escrow account usage, as the seller will have no wait to week also for payment. In some cases, you can use this escrow option, but in some cases could be very difficult for seller. For example, if seller must to buy another property, or maybe seller must to give some money for another property. So we must understand very good which situation. But when the situation of to the seller, it's a little bit not so clear, and you can use this kind of escrow option.
Yeah, it's an extra layer of safety for the buyer, for sure.
Yes, I know, but that somebody will hate me.
The seller is not going to be on the same page.
For this advice, because in some case nobody wanted to do the escrow. So I think I explained all your panoramic with some.
You definitely gave a very good overview of the process and of all the tips and suggestions that are definitely very important, because you need to. In each country you go, the process is different, and you need to work with somebody that knows what is doing, so that you're not at any risks.
So I know that we have some question, but now I can find them. If you, okay, I found it. So so how are the funds disbursed, wire, trust, resale? What do you mean with this question? So I understand this.
I think he was asking, I'm not sure because I read it quickly before it came up, when it came up, that it was asking in which way the funds were transferred, if it was a wire transfer to the account.
Okay, if you have some account, okay. It's depend if you the funds for the buy for open bank account in Italy. It depends to your account, banking account in America, and depend where you want to open the account. But in some case, we can transfer for another accounts. But I think it's question for the specialist banker, and I'm not specialist banker. I'm. And can we have a copy of explanation? Yes, if you send me your mail, I can send you the copy of explanation. So if nobody have another question, I think we can to proceed for another topic. Now I control if you have another some question online in this mode. No, so I think that we are finished, and we can to take with Italian. What do you think about it?
Sounds good to me. We're switching. Now we can start speak Italian.
Today's complicated for you. Last time.
Yeah, now I have to switch. My brain has to switch to the other way around.
Okay, one moment, please. And I, because I want